Hi everybody, Mrs. Tamita here. This week in art, we are going to be talking about cityscapes. So let's see if we can figure out what a cityscape is. So last week and the week before, we were talking about landscapes, and we learned that a landscape is an image of land or the outdoors. So if a landscape is an image of land, then a cityscape must be an image of a city. Very good. So a cityscape is just an image or art that shows an image of a city. Sometimes these will be pieces of work that are photographs or photography, and sometimes they are paintings. We're going to be looking at an artist this week named James RIZZI, who creates paintings of cityscapes. And here are a few examples of James RIZZI's work. So if we take a closer look at this image of James RIZZI's work, we can notice that the buildings are made mostly of rectangles and squares. Sometimes they're rectangles that stand alone. Sometimes they're rectangles with more rectangles on top of them. Sometimes there are triangles on them also. And the windows can also be different shapes. We have some rectangles and squares. We have some curved windows. There are some circular. You could do pretty much whatever you wanted there. So your assignment for this week is to draw and color your own cityscape. You're going to use shapes to create your buildings and windows. And this week we are going to both draw and color. You don't have to wait for next week to color. And as usual, it never needs to be perfect. Just draw your best and have fun with it. So here I am drawing my cityscape. I'm using my sketchbook, and it's up to you if you do your paper long ways or tall ways. I'm going to go with tall ways for mine. I'll start by drawing a rectangle in the bottom left with my plain black crayon. And I don't have to draw all 4 sides, I'll just draw 2 sides because the bottom of my paper and the left edge of my paper are just going to act like the other 2 sides for the rectangle. When you draw your second building, you don't need to leave a gap in between the lines and just start a brand new building. What you can do is just keep your line going up and just build that next rectangle right off of the first one. So there shouldn't be a gap in between. And I'll just keep building rectangles or squares until I go all the way across my page. I'm also adding on to my buildings by putting other shapes right on top of them. And to create more buildings, we are going to be using some overlapping, or imagining that our new buildings are kind of behind the buildings in front. So you may not see every detail, but that's okay because we don't need to. We know that the rest of the building is still there, even if we can't see it behind our front buildings. And now that I've drawn all my buildings, I'm going to go ahead and add some windows. I'll just play around with different shapes. I could use some squares. I could also use a more curved window shape, or even circles, maybe hearts, skinny rectangles, even ovals, and I could use some triangles. Just be creative and have fun with your shapes. So now I'm going to go ahead and color, and I've sped this video up. I'm not actually coloring this quickly. Just have fun with the color. You can use whatever colors you want in whichever way you want. It doesn't have to be realistic colors. Have fun and imagine a really brightly colored city if you'd like to. And here I'm using markers, but you could use whatever coloring supplies you have around or whatever you prefer. Once you're finished coloring your cityscape, if you have time and you'd like to, you could also add a sky. I decided that it was nighttime in my cityscape, so I went ahead and added a moon and some stars and colored it in. And here is my finished cityscape. Have fun, everybody!